least.
No, it'll be fun. So I got Nicole Hottmann on the hot seat today. Nicole, if you can, just take a few minutes, tell everyone watching who you are, where you're from, and your kind of journey with Symmetry. I know you've been here twice now, so.
I have kind of an interesting story, that's for sure. My name is Nicole Hottmann. I'm out of Dodgeville, Wisconsin, little bitty town, kind of situated between Madison and Dubuque, Iowa, so southwest part of the state. And as you stated, yes, this is my second time at Symmetry. I work direct to Melissa Weigel in the Weigel Agency and Organization, building my own team now. Have been back here for almost 2 years, but full-time for just short of 1 year. And I originally started with Symmetry 6.5 years ago, and came on and started working full-time. Had a couple of situational things, hiccup-wise, in my own personal life that kind of got in the way for me at that time. Couple of surgeries. My husband owned his own business at the time, and he was working crazy hours. And we've got 4 little kids, and so at that time, just had to make a decision that was tough. And I walked away from Symmetry probably 9 or 10 months into it. Which
Do
I
you
think
regret that?
Oh my gosh, of course,
Like,
right?
where do you think you
Like,
would be in the company right now if you'd have just stayed?
look at where Melissa's at. That's where I'd be. I'd be right sitting by her. I'd be high, I'd be right there with Jimbo. So yeah, bad decision,
Bad timing.
Bad timing. I think life works that way. A lot of times we're given the right situation, but if the timing isn't right, it's not going to be right. And so at that time, I couldn't make it all work, and regretted it for sure. Hopped around to a couple of other corporate jobs, even took a role teaching business courses for a while at a local high school. Like, I did a bunch of different things because I was really searching for this work-life balance that had not existed in my world. And that's what initially brought me to Symmetry. And it's what's, brought me back to Symmetry too, is that want and desire and need for a work-life balance with 4 children and career, and wanting to get my life to a place where I'm financially comfortable and can live the life I want to live, and give my kids the opportunities I want for them, but without having to work 80 hours a week forever. So that's the goal. But so I did a lot of kind of job hopping. I ran into Melissa randomly in Nashville about 2 summers ago. It was funny. I was sitting in a little saloon listening to music down there with some friends, and Melissa was there on a separate trip with some other friends who were mutual friends of ours. And she posted on Facebook her location and like where she was. And I must have been scrolling through Facebook at the time and saw that she was there. And so I shot her a message like, "No way, you're in Nashville. What? Like, I'm here too." And so she's like, "Meet me on the rooftop of Tootsie's." And so I went strolling down the street and got in and sat with her for the next few hours. And we just talked about, where she's at in the business, where it's taken her, how things in her life have, transitioned from when we both started together 6 years ago to kind of where she's at now. I had seen on Facebook and followed her. We've been friends for years, lost a little bit of touch after I left Symmetry the first time, but I had seen that she had built this amazing house, and like, obviously things were going well for her. So she caught me up, and she didn't ask me to come back or anything. We just had a conversation. It was more me inquiring than her pursuing anything with me that way. But once I got home from Nashville, I couldn't get it out of my head. And so I kept calling Melissa, right? Like, now I was the one, like, I was on the hook. And so I went back. I had let my license lapse. I had to go back and take all the exam FX training and take my exams again and do the Symmetry application again. And anyway, I came back finally part-time. And so I was working my corporate job. I had a lot of flexibility in that role. I was in the field anyway, working a lot of the Iowa, like Dubuque, Iowa market. And so I just started working with clients for Symmetry down in that same Dubuque, Iowa market after I was done with my, job. And I would run evening appointments and afternoon or weekend appointments, and just kind of built it up and built a nest egg, and then finally launched over full time. Felt the confidence to do so, and yeah. I'll never leave now. Now there's no turning back. Building the team,
full time.
Excited, yeah, for sure.
What's the size of your team so far?
It ebbs and it flows. Right now, I've got about 7 people. I've got 2 writers, a lot of people studying. We're bringing quite a few people out to conference, which is coming up in Vegas in a couple weeks. So I'm very excited about that. Continuing to recruit and hoping that we have more than 7 at conference. Obviously, the
And
goal is to have.
what made you want to start recruiting instead of just producing?
Well, you can make a good living producing, right? We all know that. But in order to get yourself to a place where you have the work-life balance, like the income, the passive income to kind of help support your business, but also kind of get you to a place where now all of a sudden you've got a lot of freedom of time also. In order to get to that place, you need to have a team. You can't get there alone.
Can't do it on your own. Absolutely.
Can't do it on your own pen forever if you want time.
You're consistently a big writer in our organization. What do you typically do a month as far as APV goes?
You know, if I don't have any vacation time that I take off that gets in the way, and I have like a normal month, I'm always hoping to hit 25 to 30K. I've had 40K months. It just depends.
Yeah, I know you barely beat me in April. It's like $1,000.
The competition is on, Mason. I'm gonna kick your butt, you know, eventually here again.
Yeah, man, I just want to ask you, how do you do that while managing being a single mom of 4 kids?
You know, I think it's just I'm a master scheduler and organizer. I've had to like learn to be. So I follow a really strict schedule. I live and die by that calendar. My days start early, my days are long, but and work is always a part of it. But I'm able to work around in and around what my kids' needs are too.
Kids
And
events, stuff like
oh
that.
yeah, all their sporting events. I mean, with 4 of them, they're playing every sport under the sun. It seems like every season we're running to basketball or baseball or football or whatever it is. But you know, also knowing that I don't have to be at everything, right? So it's like I have to prioritize. Sometimes it means that I have to miss games a couple of nights so that I can run evening appointments in order to be freed up all weekend to run them to all of their events and stay with them in hotels for all this AAU travel or whatever it is on the weekends. And so I'm not going to tell you that I never miss any of their events. I have to pick and choose because in order to put up those numbers, we have to do the right kind of activity here, right? I've got to run the right number of appointments and all
Yeah,
the
there's
rest.
a lot of short-term sacrifice for a delayed gratification because
There
the
is.
kids will be thankful for it in the next year or two when you're probably out of the
Absolutely.
field.
Absolutely. And a big part of it is, you know, I want them to have the opportunities that they want to participate in. I want to be able to afford to do that for them. And I can't afford to do that for them if I'm not running the number of appointments in a week that I have to support it. Right. So it's give and take. It's the balance. It's looking at your calendar and prioritizing the right things at the right time and making some
How many
decisions
appointments a week are
sometimes.
you running?
I
on
like to
a
run
month?
15 to 18 if I can a week.
And that's actually getting in front of 15 to 18 people?
That's sitting knee to knee with them at a kitchen table for me.
Okay, so you like in-homes more than...
I'm still in home. You know, I'll do some Zoom or some virtual if that's what they prefer. Most of my leads are in and around the geography that I live in. So I was telling you, I'm situated kind of Southwest Wisconsin between Madison and Dubuque. So I'm running that Dubuque market and then Dane County, which is Madison, and Rock County, which is just beyond Madison. And so it's a doable thing for me to go knee to knee.
So there's no excuse. I love the point that Jim brought out the other week. You had a big month and you see a bunch of heads start dropping on the Zoom calls, people putting up 1,000, 2,000 APV in a month. And here you are, a full-time like single mom, not making any excuse. I find it embarrassing for those people that
I just say if there's a will, there's a way. If there's a will, there's a way. So like if you're not laser focused on what you want, that's your problem. I mean, if you're not laser focused, you're not going to ever get there, right? You got to know what your goals are for the week, and you got to prioritize accordingly. And some weeks that means I'm going to Disney with my kids, like last week. And some weeks that means I got to come back and make 20 appointments to pay for all the stuff I just had at Disney the week before or whatever. You know what I mean? So when I'm working, I'm pretty darn focused on it for sure. And I need to be.
Yeah, I just like the no BS. There's no excuses in your workflow. So it's just funny hearing that and Jim call out all these people doing nothing. It's funny. And you'll have haters out there, of course.
I suppose.
What do you think has been your biggest contributor to your success here?
I mean, I've got a lot of support. I work with a lot of great people. I love Melissa Weigel. I mean, she's one of my very best friends and she gives me a ton of support for sure. Also myself, right? Like at the end of the day, this business is going to live and die by me. Like it's either going to work because I made it work or it's going to fail because I failed. And so 100% of the time it's about what I've done or haven't done. So I've got
Absolutely.
support and I've got good training, but it's fallen on my shoulders at the end of the day. You know, so I got to show up every day.
How have the trips been at Symmetry? I know you've gotten to go on a few trips. How are those?
They're amazing. I mean, are you kidding me? We were just in Cabo together in May. That was fabulous. Like the weather could not have been better. The resort was perfect. The swim up bar was sweet.
Did you have to pay for any of it?
I didn't have to pay for a thing. I left with $500 cash in my pocket because I won a contest and everything was paid for. So I came back ahead in my bank account from that trip.
And then you just went to Costa Rica, didn't you?
I got to be Melissa's +1 in Costa, which was fantastic, and got to, rub elbows with a lot of who's who in Symmetry, and that was really fun and exciting, and got to meet a lot of people and network in a way that I never would have been able to without that trip, which was awesome. And we're working on a couple new Cabo opportunity trips for next year, so I'm gonna be there with you, man. I'm gonna be there with you for sure. Come hell or high water. We'll find a way.
AOs, I'm pretty sure just get to go anyway, so.
They do. So there you go. So hopefully we'll both be AOs by then.
I know, hopefully in my vocabulary.
Okay. I like how you think.
No, if you had to pick like your most important core value about Symmetry, what would it be?
Oh, that's a good question. Help me out, Mason. I'd say it's all about the people, right? Like
so the relationships matter.
Relationships
People
matter
come first.
Absolutely. And I think from a production standpoint, that's true with clients and customers, right? Always doing the right thing when even when nobody's looking, especially when nobody's looking. But I think it's also internally in our own organization, caring about people, helping them through the rough spots of this when they first start out, caring enough as a leader to show up and help them with their first appointments. If they're struggling on the phones, jumping on a Zoom and listening to them dial or allowing them to listen to you. I know you do some of that with your team as well. I think all of it. I think it's a pay it forward kind of environment around here. And when somebody asks you for help, you don't say no. Like you figure out how you can help them. And if that means your day's a little longer, then I guess your day's just a little longer that particular day.
Y'all gotta make your sacrifices.
Absolutely. Yeah. But what goes around comes around. It's a karma thing. And so we're helping people and people are helping us. Yeah. So
you help someone out, then you run into a big annuity or something like that. That's
right.
Common here.
That's right.
What's your biggest piece of advice, just as a closing statement? What's your biggest piece of advice for any new agents, like say single moms who are wanting to get more of a life-work balance with their kids, maybe looking at joining Symmetry or something like that? What would you recommend for them to do to be successful here like you have been?
Be unafraid. Don't be afraid. Don't be intimidated by this opportunity. This opportunity is a once in a lifetime opportunity. So
yeah, I think right now is the best time to get in as far as how the recruiting's going.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And look at what the owners of Symmetry are doing for us, right? With all the ears shares and like all the things that are on the table outside of all the other awesome things that were already on the table. Now is definitely the best time. But I think it can be an intimidating thing. I think a lot of people, that I talk to and
they don't want to give up a salary position or something guaranteed.
And I say to them, I've never made more money in my life than when I came, coming here. And I used to have a company car and a nice salary and a good bonus structure. I had what a lot of people thought was a really good job. And guess what? I was living paycheck to paycheck. And now I'm able to provide for my kids and my family in a way that I could not before. Plus I have the freedom to pick and choose my schedule all the time, right? So
that's what I tell people. I've had people on interviews saying, well, I can't afford to do it. Like, you can't afford not to take this opportunity. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, you can't afford not to do this.
I think what it boils down to is, are you confident in yourself and in your own work ethic and capabilities? If the answer,
you get paid what you're worth here.
For sure. And if
you
the
want to
answer
go do
is
$10
yes,
an hour work, you're going to make $10 an hour.
Yeah. That's right. It's a different mentality, that's for sure. And it takes a little getting used to. But once, I'm telling you, and you know this, once you're here 12 months, you'll never leave. It's just that first year, you got to be gritty. You got to get through the hard stuff. So I don't know if that answered your question. or
No,
not.
that's perfect. Well, Nicole, thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and end this, but that was perfect. So thanks for hopping on here with me.
Good deal, anytime.